Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from the UK, and today is Tuesday, the 20th of June 2023. I am so glad you're joining me today on this very impromptu episode. As you can see, I'm recording from a different place. I'm actually recording from my living room because, well, I tend to record on the weekends, and it's been really hot and my yarn attic just gets too warm. Like, it's just not comfortable. Also, it has these like Velix windows. It doesn't really work with lighting. And B, toddler is in nursery for like another hour and my husband's working from London today. So I thought I'm going to record a quick podcast episode because I did want to get some yarny content into the world. Nothing super exciting, but I have been making a fair amount of progress on all of my projects, and I am probably also going to do a little bit of house chat and live chat towards the end because boy has there been stuff going on. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous, but we're just gonna go through it. I've brought the coffee and I am literally surrounded by yarn. I probably cannot move, and otherwise everything is just gonna fall off. But for now I'm here, we have yarn, we have coffee, we have knitting, and I'm just gonna chat to you about it. So as per usual, I'm not sponsored or anything by anyone, so everything I talk about is my personal opinions. If I do ever get sent yarn or patterns or whatever, I will always let you know. And if you have any sort of questions about details, about projects and so on, I do usually have pretty good Ravelry project pages, so if you can use Ravelry, please just click the link below. And if you cannot, then just let me know and I will try to answer your questions in the comments. All right. Where should we start? Let's just start with whatever is on top. So the reason why I didn't podcast on the weekend is because I didn't really feel like I made any significant progress on any of my many works in progress, but it's not true. It's just that all of my projects are sort of in this stage where you put a lot of work in it and it doesn't really look that different. And the best example of this is my massive Cinnabar shawl. So this is the, whoops, I've dropped some stitches. This is the Cinnabar shawl by Andrea Mowry, which I think was all the hype a couple of years ago. It is a brioche and 2-color garter stitch shawl, which is really, really fun. And you wouldn't be able to tell, but I did put this on a larger needle in order to be able to show it better on the podcast, but then I actually made so much progress that it is still completely scrunched up. But this is it. So this is one side. Theoretically, there is no real right or wrong side in brioche, but you can tell, hopefully, I'm using a color changing gray yarn that goes from like dark gray to lighter gray to sort of a creamy, almost pinkish color. Together with a dark purple BC yarn, which has fallen to the ground, so I can't show that to you. But the dark purple, which is also the edging of the shawl, is a BC yarn. I think they're Bio Shetland. And I'm pairing it with, this is the color changing sock yarn from Queensland. I think Queensland Yarn is a company and Perth is their sock yarn. It's really, really fun. I think I need to go back to London at some point to Beautiful Knitters and pick up another colorway of this because I really, really enjoy this yarn, and this would have been lovely socks had I not put them into the shawl. So yeah, honestly, I have been putting so much work into this. I reckon I've put on another, let's see, 5 inches, 6 inches? Since I showed this to you last, and the rows are so long, I have 300 plus stitches on the needles now, and this is meant to be knit in, I think, like a sport to DK weight, and I'm clearly using fingering weight, which is not making my life easier. And I was tempted to finish this off, but I did look at the photos and I do love the really, really, really massive ones, so I think it is worth it to keep working on this beast, even though it is taking so much time now. I don't know. Either I'm gonna plow through this and finish it, or I was thinking, because Tour de France is coming up and it's gonna be a lot of knitting while watching cycling, if I somehow find the time for it. So I think this could be a good project for that. So maybe I will attempt to make this my Tour de France project. I don't know. I think my plan, oh no, I messed up my pads. Oh no. Anyways, my plan is to try to knit as much of this. And once I run out of this skein of yarn, which I only had 100 grams to start with, I'm gonna move on to the border. So essentially either I lose steam and I cast off, or I'm gonna finish this ball, which I think is about 25 grams left. And then I'll finish this off. So that is my Cinnabar shawl by Andrea Mowry. Next up, I have been working a little bit on my Rowan felt tweed cardigan. So last time I showed this to you, I was still working on the raglan increases, I believe, and I'm dropping stitches everywhere. It's because I'm using too small needles. My circumference of my needles is too small because I still haven't ordered more and longer liquor needle cables. I really need to get on that. But anyways, this is my Rowan felted tweed cardigan. You can see here it's not a cardigan yet, but this is the steek, which I'm eventually going to secure and then cut open, and then I will attach a button band. And I have since finished the increases, and as you can tell, my sleeve stitches are now on hold, and I'm just going to knit round and round and round and round on the body. I was thinking actually what I might do, because I don't have crazy amounts of this yarn, is I might finish the ball that I'm working on right now, and then I might knit the sleeves, and then the sleeves will be done, so I don't have to worry about that anymore, and I can't get stuck on Sleeve Island, and also then I can just knit this cardigan as long as I can with the yarn that I have. So I think that's the plan for now. I just need to sit down and do it, really. This is my first time knitting with Rowan felted tweed, which I love, and gathering from the comments that you guys put underneath my video where I talked about this. It's a really popular yarn. I knew it was popular a couple of years ago, but I've not really seen that many people knit with it in my sort of knitting community and Instagram and all of that. But it is really lovely. I mentioned that I actually thought about destashing this because I wasn't sure if I loved the color, and I'm so glad I didn't, because now that I'm working with it, I think I get why everyone loves it. It's beautiful yarn. This is colorway Duck Egg Blue, and I think part of my disappointment with this yarn initially was that it didn't really look like it looked on all like the projects on Ravelry that other people had made, and apparently maybe it's just a hard colored photograph, who knows. But I do really like it now. It has been in my stash for probably 5 or 6 years, so I'm happy to be using it up. And yeah, I should mention, this is sort of self-drafted and it's also not. So I used a raglan pattern that I had in my library with the gauge that I got with this yarn, which I think was 20.5 stitches, if I remember correctly. And the one that I had in my library was the no frills sweater, so I used that to like get my cast on numbers in the short rows. But as you can tell, I've just inserted a steek, and I've already veered off pattern because I didn't want the sleeves to be too big. I wanted the body nice and oversized, like not massively oversized, but slightly oversized. So I've essentially just used like a couple of rows of the pattern, and now I'm just doing my own thing. And this will be a really sort of simple cardigan that hopefully in autumn I can just layer over whatever, like t-shirts and jeans, and it'll be really cute. Next up, I have a new cast on, which I am excited about. So if I show you this yarn, some of you can probably guess. So this is my woolly knit cotton yarn. This is their 100% cotton and the color mustard, I believe. Mustard yellow, yes. And of course, I cast on another Tolster tee. And again, I'm dropping stitches. I should really get on top of that. So the Tolster is a t-shirt pattern by Rebecca Clow of the TheHappyKnittingPodcast. I talked about it at length in the past few episodes because I just finished one. And I was waiting for her to release the fingering weight version of the pattern, which is included and was part of the reason why I bought the pattern initially. And it came out, and I was going to knit the fingering weight version, and then I was lazy. So instead, I'm doing another DK weight version. So I'm holding these two, basically I caked up some of the cone, and I'm holding a double to create the DK weight needed for the DK weight version of this pattern. And as you can tell, I am doing a single colored one. So I was originally planning on making it striped with cream stripes. I think it goes this way around. But you know what? I just wanted a simple knit, which might make you laugh because, I mean, I just showed you a plain stockinette cardigan, which is also a simple knit. So you'd think that would be enough simple knitting, but apparently not. I enjoyed my previous toaster, but I feel like I was always like changing colors and weaving in ends with the stripes and doing joggler stripes, and it was just a bit of a hassle. And I am so lazy. I decided to just do a lovely cream t-shirt, and I think it's gonna be so wearable because, as you can tell, I have a fair bit of stripes in my life already. And I think if I just make this one color, it's gonna be really wearable. I can just wear it with anything. And the thing is that I weighed my previous toaster tee, and I used exactly 200 grams of the cotton. So these are 400 gram cones. So theoretically, I can always still make a striped cream and mustard version, no problem. For this one, I'm planning to make it a little bit longer because the first one was a little bit too short for me, which I didn't follow the pattern, so that was just my own choice of length that I made. Rather, I didn't even check what the pattern recommends in terms of length. But I'm gonna make this one a little bit longer because I don't want it to be like awkwardly cropped. I don't really wear crop stuff, but if I wear crop stuff, I want it to be like proper cropped. And I think my previous toaster looks a bit like accidentally cropped. So I'm gonna make this one a bit longer, but I will have enough yarn for sure, and then I still have leftovers from my previous ones to like play around with and do other stuff. And yeah, I'm glad I actually chose the DK weight because, yes, of course, the fingering weight version would have been even better suited, but it's just so much knitting, and I'm happy to knit fingering weight garments. But this is just supposed to be a sort of a quick summer knit, so I didn't want to be spending all that knitting time on a cotton t-shirt. I'd rather spend that knitting time on projects that give me even more joy than this. I mean, I love this, don't get me wrong, but this is a bit of a product knit as well. Like, I just need a couple of like fun hand knitted t-shirts in my wardrobe, so I just want to bust these out and have them to wear. And did I have any business casting on another garment? Absolutely not. But I was talking to my friend Robin, and basically we both agreed, like, this is, if you want a summer t-shirt, like, this is the time to knit it. Because I am still knitting, like, as you know, on my Islander sweater, which is definitely a woolly stranded colorwork autumn to winter sweater. There's no rush on that. And obviously the Rowan felted tweed cardigan, which again is no rush, but this needs to be finished so I can wear it right now because it's been really, really hot in the UK. So yeah, there we go, toaster tee. I'm knitting size 4. I'm basically doing exactly what I did with my previous one because it fits really well. So I'm just copying it. I think I used 3.75 and 4.5 millimeter needles. And yeah, I'm not that far off finishing the yoke. With all of these things at the moment, I just tend to like rush through all the increases, and then once I separate for the sleeves, then I can just, you know, pick it up and knit whenever, and it'll be a really sort of chill project to work on. So that is that. And then I have been making some sock progress. So I for a second before recording thought I had actually left these in the buggy at the nursery, because I do leave the buggy there, but luckily I did not, because I really wanted to show you these socks. These are my Fab Funky Fibers Never Ending Rainbow socks. So Never Ending Rainbow is the colorway, and I got one of her 50 gram skeins because I mentioned this in previous episodes. I had worked out that even though I have quite large feet, I wear a EU size 42. No idea about US and UK sizing, sorry. I can actually get a long, sort of normal sized sock out of 50 grams of self-striping if I do solid colored or different colored heels, cuffs, and toes. So I'm doing exactly the same thing as I did with my previous Fab Funky Fibers skeins. I am using one 50-gram ball to knit a massive sock tube. So I started with the toe. I'm going to knit up all of this yarn into one long tube, and then I'm going to knit another toe in the contrasting Aweta Byfield Colana, and eventually I will separate these into two socks and add afterthought heels and cuffs, also in the grey, and then I will have a full pair of socks. And this is definitely my to-go project, so I just have this, like, when I go out to the park with my son, or if we're out like anywhere really, I just take the sock. It's a really handy project because I literally only have this tiny ball of yarn with me. My contrasting color is somewhere in that shelf. So it's a very portable project, and I just try to get in a couple of rows every now and then. And I mean, look at the colors. This is beautiful. I will say I'm a little bit confused about this gray stripe here. I think it would have been even more beautiful without the gray. But it's just a full rainbow, and it is beautiful. I mean, part of me wishes the skein had started on the yellow, because I think that would have just been like a really nice sort of color progression. But the thing is, if you're only using 50 grams of sock yarn, like if I had 100 grams, I would probably like color match these and like, you know, like control where I start and end a skein. But because I am using every last bit of the skein, I am just, you know, knitting it like from the start to the finish. And because I will be cutting the sock in half, basically one sock will be going this way and the other one will be going the other way in terms of the colors. And also obviously like the colors are just gonna fall where they fall, but that's fine. I think that's fun as well. Like it doesn't have to be always matching and perfect and all of these things. So yeah, that is what I'm doing with this sock. And then my other sock is actually also really fun, and this one is sort of color matching. These are my Gusto wool socks. I'm sorry I mentioned this about a million times on the podcast because I've been working on these forever. But as you can tell with this yarn came in two 50-gram skeins and they are matching. So with these ones I'm going to have matching socks, and I think I had this one finished last time I talked to you. And since I have knit up to the heel, so this is literally at the point where I need to put in my short row heel, and then hopefully this should be finished soon, because honestly this has been on the needles for way too long. It's just ridiculous. I think it's because I started the first sock when my son had an operation in, I don't even remember, March maybe, and then this had like the, you know, like the hospital knitting emotions attached to it, and I didn't really feel like knitting on them for a while, but I have picked them up. I should just get the heel done today, and then I can just zoom through the foot and be done, because these are really beautiful, and these don't deserve to be languishing forever. Like these just need to be on my feet. So this is the Gusto wool in their colorway 1512, and this is their Echoes range, which is the sort of color gradient range. So that is my sock knitting. I feel like, again, like nothing has been finished, but I have been making progress on all of my projects. And then very quickly, just because I am very proud, I wanted to show you my prism blanket again, because can you believe it? I'm the one, like I hate sewing in ends. I hate sewing in buttons to the point where I will like omit buttons and buttonholes, because I don't like all that like fidgety, like fiddly stuff. Like it just annoys me. And I know there are crazy people out there who actually enjoy weaving in ends and stuff. Like, I'm looking at you, Marion, like, I don't know, I can't do it. But I have been getting better at it. And the other day when we had like 30-degree weather, it was boiling because we're in the UK, we don't have air conditioning, blah, blah, blah. I sat down with my blanket and wove in my ends. So they're still attached to the project, but all of my ends have been woven in, and boy, there were a lot of ends on this thing. Because I was thinking, like similar to what Laura of Laura Penrose is doing, I was thinking about making another one of these with like smaller, like scrappy squares, but weaving in all of these ends is making me think about this. So maybe not. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I could actually see myself making this again with the same yarn, just a different color palette, because I should mention this is the Prism Blanket by Pearl Soho using their good wool yarn, and it is just beautiful. Like, look at that. It's just stunning. I love the yarn. So I have woven in all of my ends when I finished my third column of squares. So in the end, this is going to have 4 columns of squares. And again, I'm dropping stitches because again, I stopped in the middle of a row. And like, these rows are tiny. Like, why didn't I finish it? I don't know. And since weaving in my ends, I have now started my last column. So I have 2 squares done. I have the rest of the square and 2 squares to go, and then this blanket will be done. And now I've actually been weaving in my ends as I go as well. So once I'm finished knitting this is just going to be done. There's no finishing on it, and I'm really, really excited about it. The other thing I'm really excited about is I mentioned that I am knitting the large size, but my gauge was like massively off. So in order to get the same size blanket and not run out of yarn, because I went with their recommendations on how much yarn you should buy, what I did is what I did is instead of increasing to 85 stitches, I am increasing to 73 stitches per square. Sorry, I'm getting very sidetracked because we have a pigeon problem right there and I can see the pigeons. Instead of casting on 85 stitches, increasing to 85 stitches, I'm increasing to 73 stitches. And obviously that helps with my yarn management because I will, like, knitting on a looser gauge does use less yarn if you're knitting to the same size. So the pattern told me to buy 200 gram skeins of each of the colors. But this is how much I had left after I finished with this beautiful pink color. So I'm thinking I might actually have, for the contrast colors, I might have full skeins left. So the thing is, this is really complicated to explain. You basically have 2 main colors. So each of the squares has either a light gray or a light pink. So obviously you need more of these. And then you have 3 contrast colors. So I have this darker pink, this brown, and the yellow. So you need less of that. And I think of these 3 colors, I might have a full skein left. Or if I do, go into the second skein, it'll be like, 10 grams of a skein. So I'll have a ton of yarn left, which I'm actually really excited about because I love this yarn. And I want to knit it into a striped sweater, like basically a sweater matching my blanket. Like, how amazing would that be? So yeah, that is quite exciting. And if you're really daring, you could attempt to do the same. But obviously everyone's gauge and everything is different. So don't trust me too much. But I am very impressed. And I think the same should happen with my yellow. I think I'll have more than enough of the yellow. And I definitely will have more than enough of this because I only need to do 1 more square of this. Because just with the math, how it works out, I think there are more yellow and pink squares than there are brown squares. So there you go. I am reasonably close to finishing this, and I have actually been powering through this. Like, I think I have so many projects going on, and my plan is just to, dedicate a day or 2 to just, work on one project, and then I'll actually get stuff done rather than working 5 rows on everything. Yeah, so that is my blanket. And I think that's actually all of my WIPs that I've shown you except for my Islander sweater, which I have also worked on, but like this much. So the other thing I wanted to talk about really quickly is some yarn that I got. Just because I thought it was really interesting. So a bit of a backstory there. I watched the Fruity Knitting video where they interviewed the owner of Laxton's, which, if you don't know, Laxton's is one of, like, I think the most traditional or oldest or biggest mills, like still functioning mills in the UK. It seems they do a lot of stuff. I would highly recommend the episode that Fruity Knitting did. Maybe I can link it if I remember. because essentially they make yarn for like different yarn companies for dyeing, also for like fashion brands, like commercial knitting, for knitting machines. I think they also make wool products. Like, it was really, really interesting if you're into that sort of thing. And they were talking about their own yarn range. So they came up with their own yarn range, I think 2 years ago. And back then I actually bought some of it and knit myself a cabled Andrea Mowry sweater, which I didn't bring down because it is vacuum packed away. But it's their Sheep Soft DK, and it was like a light, like grayish pink, a bit more grayish than this. Maybe this is the Soho. And I've been wearing the cardigan a lot. Like, it's probably one of my most worn cardigans. It still looks like new. It's very woolly. So the yarn is called Sheep Soft. And it is soft for like a proper like British wool. But like it is definitely a rustic yarn, I would say. Anyway, so they were talking about it. I was like, actually, like, I would really like some more of that yarn. And they were talking about the fact that they also make this yarn for machine knitters. So I was like, hang on, can I find this yarn on cones? Because obviously cones are so much more affordable. And side story here, more and more I find myself just buying cones of yarn, like from the big producers like JC Rennie or Whole Super Soft or Jameson's, like all these like milled yarns. You can usually find a coned version, which sometimes, like I think in the case of JC Rennie, they call it greasy coned yarn for machine knitting. And like all of these yarns, they're a bit different to knit with, because if you're buying the traditional sort of like hand knitting yarn, what they'll do at the end of it is they'll wash it and remove all the spinning oil and like everything that's in it, and then put it into pretty balls. So obviously it's prettier and it's like maybe nicer to knit with, but it's also more expensive because obviously there's more steps involved. So what I like to do is I like to buy the yarn in cones, and then I don't mind knitting with the greasy yarn. It doesn't bother me at all. And once you wash it, like the same thing will happen anyway. So the end product will be exactly the same. It'll just be a lot more affordable. So I did a bit of Google searching because you couldn't buy the cones on their webpage, but I found them here. So I never know how to pronounce this, but this seems to be a sort of British company for more like machine knitting yarns. Like they also have a fair bit of like acrylic and stuff that I'm not really interested in. But they have this. This is the Sheep Soft Lamb's Wool 4-ply, 100% British wool. And this is the Laxton yarns. It just doesn't say it. So I got 2 cones of this, and I'm so excited about this. So this has 2,360 meters per cone. So this is their fingering weight version. And this is going to be exactly the same as you could buy in skeins. It's just in the cone form. And it was very, very reasonably priced. And because I got 400 grams per cone, this will be a perfect sweater quantity. So I'm so excited about this, and like it just smells like sheep. It doesn't smell like any like machine oil or anything. It's not gross. It's beautiful yarn, and I love the colors. Let's see if it does tell us the colors. This one is Settle Heather. Yeah, so there you go. I think it's really beautiful. And then this one, I actually wanted a different gray of theirs, but they didn't have it in stock. So I think I wanted like one that was even lighter than this, but this one's also beautiful. This is Coverdale Mink, and it's like it's weird. It's like a beigey gray. Like I feel like sometimes it reads gray and sometimes it reads more like oatmeal beige. But I really love these, very affordable, and because I needed to get free shipping, I got another cone, which this one was ridiculously like reasonably priced. And this is recycled wool. It's called Candy Floss Anyone. And this one, I also did some research because you don't really get that much information, I find, with these like machine knitting cones. But you can also buy this yarn in balls, or at least you used to. I will try, if I remember, I will try to put the information in the down bar. But I got it from the same place, this place, which I don't know how to pronounce. And this is also, I think it's 100% wool with Donegal nep, so it's got these little tweedy bits. I mean, obviously it shows a pink. I'm not sure if it shows up. I think it's blowing out a little bit. Like this is more the color, but it's beautiful. And this is actually a singles yarn. This one I got 500 grams per cone. I think this was like 15 pounds. And yeah, it doesn't tell me the meterage, but it's also a fingering weight, I can tell. And I haven't really seen that much singles yarn on cones. I think with this one I have to be careful again to knit something that doesn't bias, because singles tend to bias. And we all remember that whole Lento debacle. We don't want to do that again. But yeah, I think this one should be fine, because this is meant for machine knitting and not for weaving. And I know weaving yarns are, I think, generally like spun differently. So I'm hoping this one should be okay, and it's really pretty. And also it got me free shipping, so there you go. So yeah, I got these a while ago actually, but I just thought I'll show them to you today, and maybe it'll be interesting to some of you. Like, and also you guys, like maybe you can tell me, like, what is your preference? I mean, obviously this is more a thing that you will be into if you're knitting with rustic yarn, because I know there's still lots of people out there who like their like superwash merino and hand dyeds and so on. For me, it's a bit of like, I think it's different reasons why I choose to do this. Like, I just love woolly yarns. So these woolly yarns tend to not be like, you know, indie dyed. They tend to be more like stuff that you can buy in bowls, and therefore like it is also available in cones. And there is definitely a money factor, because I feel like there was a while where everyone was knitting with really expensive yarns, and it gets very pricey very quickly if you're knitting with like, you know, yarns that are like 15 to 20 pounds per skein. If you're knitting garments, especially if you're knitting garments in bigger sizes, like it becomes an issue very quickly. And yeah, I like pretty yarn, but I also can't and don't want to constantly be spending massive amounts. So this one works out really well for me, and I love my cone stash. Maybe one day I should organize my cones and do like a cone stash video, because they're definitely stacking up. But I have also been destashing some yarn, and I'm still in the process of doing that. So, oh well. Anyways, I just keep babbling. I think this is it for the yarny content. So if you want to stick around, I'm just gonna quickly tell you some more stories about our house, which has been, oh my god, it's been keeping us so busy. Home ownership is no joke, but obviously it's also quite fun, especially in hindsight. So what has been going on? I mentioned last week, our last podcast, that we were getting laminate because we were, long story short, we had carpet moths. We cannot and will not remove the carpet from upstairs because A, money, B, time, C, effort. But I used that excuse to finally get rid of our stupid conservatory dining room carpet downstairs. So we got laminate. It is beautiful. I love it. Now our entire downstairs doesn't have carpet anymore. And if you don't know, I hate carpet. I hate carpet so much. It's a very British thing. We don't really do carpet much in Germany, so it confuses me. It's annoying to clean. You get carpet moths. Anyways, we got laminate. It worked out. It is beautiful. We also, I'm jinxing it now, but I think we finally got rid of the carpet moths. We've been moth free for a couple of days now. I think I've managed to save the carpets that we do have upstairs. I ripped out our wardrobe carpet, and I think we're done. Massively jinxing it now, but for now, our bedroom finally looks beautiful. And also I mentioned that it didn't look beautiful before because we had to figure out shelving, and my beautiful husband built us shelves into our wardrobe. So we finally, as of yesterday, we have shelves in my wardrobe. So now, as soon as I have time, I can actually like put all my beautiful sweaters where they should go, and I'm really, really excited about that. So yeah, then our house is just throwing new challenges at us like on a daily basis at the moment. So the next big job, like proper big job, is we're having our external rendering redone, which is not a fun job. Luckily, I don't think we have to do the entire house, but there is some damage there, which we always knew when we moved in. We did a survey. They told us it needs to be fixed. The previous owners did a horrible job of essentially not really fixing it. So that's going to be our next weekend fun. But yeah, we're going to have a large portion of our house. They're going to like hack off the render and then redo it. Luckily, it's at the back of the house and on the side. So because as we found out, obviously, duh, you need to then repaint your house. I think we have to wait 6 weeks after the render is done, and then I think we are going to repaint our house because I'm not paying someone to do that, and also part of it is behind a shed, so I'm definitely not paying someone to paint behind a shed. So that's going to be another big thing. And yeah, we are not crafty people, but we are turning into crafty people now. So there you go. Luckily, a friend of my husband's is coming over in August, and he's really crafty. So he's bringing all the tools, and I think I'm going to make them paint the house. So yeah, that's one thing. Then also, after dealing with ants and carpet moths, we now have pigeons trying to desperately nest into our wisteria in front of a house, which is really annoying, especially because you're not allowed to take down nests. So we're essentially trying to prevent the nests before they turn into proper nests. So like, when does this ever stop? Like, it's just one thing after the other at the moment. It is ridiculous. But we are getting there. We are also getting some more shelving. We did another massive IKEA order. So soon we're going to have books and bookshelves. So then I can have clothes in the wardrobes where currently there are books. And so we are getting stuff sorted. It's just never ending. Like, I was looking forward to all the exciting jobs, like making myself a nice craft room, which eventually will likely turn into like a craft room / office. But no, we're just stuck doing like stupid jobs. But yeah, there we are. I'm hoping the house is gonna stop attacking us like right, left, and center soon, so I can actually spend my time knitting rather than like researching render and pigeons and like exterior painting and like that sort of crap. So yeah, fun house update for you guys there. I'm hoping next time I talk to you, we will have fixed render. It probably won't be next weekend because they'll be hacking up render, and I think it's going to affect the amount of podcasting I can do. Hopefully this will all calm down and one day we will all laugh about it. So anyways, that was a quick house update for anyone who was interested. I'm sure many of you have gone through this. And yeah, it is definitely a challenge. I mean, it is such a huge privilege for me to be like, to be house owners. Didn't think this would happen, so I'm obviously very excited, and everyone tells you it's going to be a big job and there is work involved, but the amount of work that is involved is ridiculous. Yeah, and also excitingly, I am in the process of destashing some yarn, and I also decided to get rid of some of the blankets that I've made over the years. So like, I've made a fair few blankets, and while I love all of them, I just realized I'm not using all of them, especially like some of the baby blankets that I made for my son. He's not using them, I'm not using them. Like, they're basically just waiting to be eaten by moths, and obviously that's no use. So I put them on like a free website, and actually someone across the street who works in a children's hospital, she took them, and I am so happy. I think I got rid of 3 sort of granny strap blankets, 1 granny square, and 1 rainbow blanket that I used for my son when he was like a baby in the buggy. And she took all of them and like lovingly hand washed them to use in a children's hospital, which just makes me so excited. Like, that is exactly what I wanted. So I'm actually really happy about that. It makes space for me to make new blankets, and they go to a loving home, and she really appreciated them. So that turned out really, really well. We also have here, they have a postbox knitter group. To be fair, I think they do a lot of crochet. But what they do is they basically crochet and knit all these like beautiful postbox toppers, like with themes like the coronation and summer and Christmas and so on. And so I think I have so far already donated a fair amount of like leftover yarns to them. And I think I'm going to donate another massive bag of those. And yeah, so that's another way to like get rid of yarn. Maybe if you're looking to do the same, maybe who knows, maybe you have stuff like that where you live as well. Anyways, that was a lot of chat. I have recorded for 40 minutes. I should make sure I don't miss my son's pickup. So I'm gonna go, but thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions on cone yarns and greasy yarns and machine knitting yarn and all of that. And yeah, I will hopefully see you soon. Until then, I hope all of you are staying safe and healthy and happy and have some yarn to play with. Happy knitting. Thank you for watching. Bye.